Hello everyone, and welcome to the first ever episode of Dragalia Weekly. This brand new series is a way for me to give a window into what's going on with my account, show off some gameplay of special events or anything I happen to be doing in a given week, as well as discuss new events, new updates, and other happenings and goings-on in the world of Dragalia Lost. Now, I'm excited to finally start a series like this, and in case you're not aware, the impetus was that I'm not able to produce as many videos on my channel as I used to, so think of this as your one-stop video at the end of the week for all of my casual thoughts and impressions on any new content or new information that we have about Dragalia Lost. I'll keep releasing these every week, and this is sort of like a variety show or podcast where I'll go topic by topic and just break down my impressions and my analysis of things to the best of my ability in this more laid-back format. So every week I want us to start off on a positive note, and because I am purchasing Diamantium at this point, I have had the pleasure of doing some daily deals over the past week. So we're going to start things off with our summoning session, looking through the 7 summons I was able to get over this past week in Dragalia Lost. Let's cue that summoning music, and while that plays, I'll try to give a little snippet of insight as to each thing I summoned. This week I got Francesca, Kindling Imp, Orion, Eric, Gloomdrake, Geroda, and Fubuki. So I'm not going to talk much about the 3-star dragon since there's not a whole lot to say here, but I thought it'd be a fun bit to just talk a little bit about the actual adventurers I summoned. So the first one I pulled was Francesca. She's a natural 3-star, wind element support type dagger. Her strength isn't super high, and as a dagger she does have the critical rate ability, but you really need to bump up her nodes, ideally to 50, to actually get the most benefit possible because she is that natural 3-star. So one of the cool things about Francesca is she has 2 attacking skills, the second of which can debuff enemy defense, but it only has a 30% chance to do so. She also has a 4-strike passive and 75% Bog Res through her other 2 abilities, which is just okay. Bog Res isn't extremely desirable. It is helpful against High Mercury's Trial, but not really necessary for that, with or without a low-end. Unfortunately, I think there are just so many other strong wind units that Francesca has kind of fallen by the wayside. And I would say the same is true of the second unit I happened to summon this week, Orion. Now, Orion is also a dagger and suffers from some of the same problems as Francesca, despite having a really appealing kit on paper with 2 attacking skills, a Flurry Devastation ability, as well as 100% paralysis res and skill prep of 50%, Orion's skill modifiers, the damage, the percentage values on his skills, they just aren't that great compared to other adventurers. So that's kind of the big weakness Orion faces, and the basic attacks of daggers are not that great compared to other weapon types either. So when you have other shadow adventurers like Yaten, Natalie, you have Ieyasu, you have Curran, Heinwald, it can be hard for someone like Orion to really stand out. Next up though, we had Eric, and Eric's another shadow unit, but this time with blindness res that goes up to 75%. Just like Francesca, Eric also happens to have a 4-strike ability, and he has 2 attacking skills. The great thing about Eric, though, is that they actually have good modifiers. The damage those skills deal is actually really good. It's really solid, regardless of the fact that he's a 3-star. He's also different enough than Curran and Sazanka since he has blindness res, so I actually think he's one of the more powerful 3-star shadow adventurers. Finally, to round out the adventurers we got this week, I did also pull Geroda. Geroda's a water blade. He is stun res of 75%, and he also has Broken Punisher. His first skill is an attack with a decent modifier on it, over 800%, but his second skill only gives him a 5-second strength buff, which is just really weak. It's hard to really pull off anything other than casting one skill after that short of a strength buff. so honestly that's pretty disappointing in his kit. The 5-star Water Blade provides a heal, so it doesn't work especially well with anything he has going on, and Burn Res is highly desirable for High Brunhilde's trials, so he's also in kind of a bad position for that. He could be decent against Void Agni, but unfortunately Geroda is another one of those characters, similar to Francesca, but probably even a little bit worse, that just needs an alt or needs some kind of upgrade to really stand out and be competitive with more of the popular water adventurers. And that's all I want to say about my polls this week. No 5 stars, but you never know, the pity rate is getting up there, so perhaps this time next week I'll have something more exciting to share. Now let's move on to the actual topics of the show today. The first thing I want to discuss is the ongoing special event, New Year's Tidings. I'm going to switch over and show off the first clear I did of that on Nightmare difficulty right now. The main thing I want to comment on is just that there's an infinite loop, and this is the most grindable event that we've ever had released in the game. After that, of course, I'm going to take a look at the story recap video that posted earlier this week. I held off on watching that so that I could give you my live reactions, and I've been told by the Dragalia Lost Twitter that there are 4 squishums hidden in that video, so we'll see if we're able to find them. That'll kind of give us a nice recap so that we're ready on July 15th for the next story chapter. And then finally, the major topic for today's show, after all of that, is going to be what's ahead for Dragalia Lost Part 5, our new director, and all of my opinions and impressions on the new details. So let's start with New Year's Tidings, Fortune from Afar. Now, I already said that this is an extremely grindable event, and you're probably aware by now the reason for this is that the boss battle drops ashes which refresh your wings, and the raid battle drops honeys which refresh your stamina. By alternating between the expert boss battle and the expert raid battle, doing any EX raid battles you happen to get along the way, you can basically play this raid indefinitely. Sure, there's a little bit of variance when you're starting up, so you want to have some amount of ashes or honey stockpiled to make sure that you can get this infinite loop going. But once you have it going, your expected drops from these quests are basically higher than what you have to spend to continue playing them. So anything you get along the way, from blazons, from those quests themselves, since there are rare drops including things like golden keys in the EX raids, that's yours to keep forever, and any extra honey or wings that you get, or ashes that you get rather, you can also hang on to and use when grinding future content. That's something we haven't seen before, but of course it would drop during a week in which I'm very busy. So honestly, I haven't been proactively grinding the raid very much. I do find that Shishimai is one of the more fun raid bosses with its mechanics. You can see in my first clear that I didn't really remember the pattern for Dance of the Sunrise, and it took me a while before I noticed that sliver on the left-hand side that is able to protect you from that move in the final, step of the dance. So once I was able to do that, it was pretty much smooth sailing for the rest of my Nightmare clears. What I did end up grinding more, though, was actually the double drops for Shadow Ruins, just because that was easier to do, and I wanted to have enough Shadow Orbs stockpiled, since now we can level up our Elemental Altars to level 35. Basically, that's something I suggest you do with every event. When a new event comes out, it's going to focus on a specific element, typically, and that's your opportunity to actually invest in that specific altar. So by the end of the event, I expect both my Shadow Altars will be at level 35, and since we have a Flame event coming up soon, I'm using some of my other Smith Worms to work on my Flame Altars and get ready for that. More on that in just a moment when we get to What's Ahead Part 5, but first, let's take a look at that story recap video, and I will give you my real-time impressions. Alright, here we go with this video.
Dragalia Lost.
Dragalia Lost.
Crisis was upon the kingdom of Alberia. A sacred shard had protected the kingdom since
Whoa,
its
that
founding
3D
300
model.
years ago, but a shadow darkened its luster. King Aurelius ordered his son, the prince, to seek out a new sacred
I haven't
shard
seen
to
King
save the
Aurelius or
country.
Zethia in a
But in
while.
order to obtain one, he had to overcome the legendary Windworm's trial and forge a pact. With his twin sister Zethia and the Fairy Knot, he defeated the Windworm Midgardsormr and forged his
Okay,
first
this
pact with
pop-up
the
book
dragon.
style is really
Just
cool.
as he was about to obtain the sacred shard, King Aurelius, possessed by an evil force, appeared and kidnapped Zethia. Branded as the traitorous prince, he was forced to flee from the evil Diurnal Empire, an empire reborn from the
Now we're in
fall
chapter
of
2.
Alberia. The prince defeated Emil, the sixth heir, and forged a pact with the waterworm Mercury. Next, he pursued King Aurelius to Mount Adola to rescue Zethia. And although he failed to rescue his sister, he did
I'm
manage to
just
save
mesmerized
Brunhilda,
by
the
the
Flatworm,
pop-up
who
book
was under
style.
attack by the king. Brunhilda
Of
assumed
course,
that
we
he
get
had
Mim
failed
here.
and joined the prince on his journey. Realizing a need for more power if he ever hoped to rescue his sister, the prince resolved to forge pacts with the dragons, known as the Six Great Worms. He headed next to the Dornith Mountains.
They
home of
mentioned the
Jupiter,
6th
the
Great
Lightworm.
Worm casually there.
In the Dornith Mountains, the prince encountered his older brother Emil once again. During their battle, the Lightworm Jupiter witnessed the prince's strength of character, and the two forged a pact. After that, a mysterious young woman, identical to Zethia, appeared to guide the
I
prince
forgot
to
that
his
she
next
appeared there,
destination.
actually.
The prince was led to the Binding Ruins. There, he confronted his father, King Aurelius. The prince learned that King Aurelius was being controlled by a mysterious being known as the Other.
The
which
Other
was
name
the
drop
shadow
right
worm
there?
Zodiark, one of the 6 great worms. The prince defeated the dragon in battle and forged a pact with him. Deep in the ruins, the prince was finally reunited with Zethia. But her body had already become host to the
Oh,
Other.
that turnaround.
King Aurelius came to his senses and fought the Other, but he lost his life during the
Oh,
battle. Zethia,
rest in peace.
possessed by the Other, named herself Empress and imposed her tyrannical
Kind of weird that they
rule
just
over the
accept
empire.
her as the Empress.
The oppressed people of the former Alberia could do nothing but flee and hope for salvation. And with that, the prince was needed once again. Those oppressed by the Empire gathered at the Halidum under the prince's protection. But Valix, 4th heir of Alberia, attacked their sanctuary. The prince found himself in
It's actually
dire
really
straits,
cool how they
but
have the
people rose to
IO
his
soldiers
defense,
behind
and
Valix.
was repelled. And in return, the prince rose up for the people and declared the founding of
Yep.
New Alberia. And the rest? That will have to
Ooh,
wait
that will have to
for
wait.
another time.
So, of course, the ad to download the game. But just the fact that we got that much is honestly pretty exciting for me. And that was what was in the game at launch. So, pretty cool trailer. Honestly, I did not see any Squishums. So, I guess we're going to have to, wait for the actual answers to be posted on Twitter. Otherwise, I could spend some more time scrolling through this. But I think we've waited long enough. Let's finally get into what's ahead for Dragalia Lost Part 5. Alright, so I've pulled up the news bulletin here, and it's finally time for what's ahead for Dragalia Lost Part 5. Of course, the first big piece of news is actually not in any of the bullet points, but in the actual first paragraph itself. Hello everyone, my name is Okada, and I've recently taken on the role of director for Dragalia Lost. So you may have seen a separate notice about this, but Director Matsura has handed over the reins to Director Okada. Okada is from Blaze Games and has worked on Dragalia Lost since before launch, so it remains to be seen what type of ideas this new director will bring to the table, but I am very optimistic since it's someone who has been with the game since the beginning, and I always think it's a good idea to get a variety of perspectives, so I'm very hopeful for this new director, and of course, have to say thank you to Papa Matsura, Director Matsura, for the great time that they oversaw for Dragalia Lost. Let's get into the actual bullet points though, as the first is about event information. We have a promotion running in July where everyone will get a free summon each Saturday and Sunday. That's awesome since, yes, you're probably likely to get a 3-star, maybe a duplicate, but at least some people out there will get a 5-star. They'll get something new. They might even get a focus unit. I've seen pictures of you who have gotten things like that, so I'm just glad that this will affect some community members in a positive way. And essentially, at a bare minimum, it's more Eldwater for everyone, so awesome to see that type of change. There are those who would want the daily deal to always be free, and maybe they're not prepared to do that just yet, since that is a lot of value, and that's a large reason why people like myself wanted to get into Diamantia more. But still, just having 2 free summons a week is pretty nice. The next big event, of course, it stands out here, is Flames of Reflection. So it looks like a lot of the data mined assets of Ramona are being put into use for this event. I love facility events, and we don't have a flame facility yet, so I'm very glad to see a flame facility event in particular. This is going to start July 11th, so essentially when the current banner and the raid revival ends, this will start basically the day after that. And you have the other 2 Sisters of the Anvil here. You have Reyna with the pink hair, and you have Renee with the black or bluish hair at the bottom. It says that Ramona appears when you build a smithy, and it focuses on her and her sisters. And there's this really cool artwork on the left where she says she can overcome any limitations because she has her dear sisters at her side. As far as weapon types for these characters go, it looks like the one in the middle is holding a dagger or a short sword at her hip in a sheath, so that's what I'd expect for her. I think Ramona is most likely to wield an axe of the current weapon type since she's holding such a big axe or hammer behind her. And the character on the right, it looks like she's holding something really long, so maybe it's a staff or maybe a lance. And yeah, it confirms underneath that all 3 of them are going to appear on a summon showcase. And Ramona offers a new kind of action, so keep an eye out for that too. I'm thinking this will probably be a normal showcase, but that last line about a new type of action definitely raises some eyebrows for me. It could be something as simple as a new mechanic like Energize or Bleed that we've gotten in the past, that at this point have both been pretty influential. Or it could also be something unique to Ramona, sort of how Ronzel has his gauges, Gala Ronzel, or how Mim has her shapeshift mechanics. Maybe they're going to give Ramona some unique mechanics. A lot of people want to see her be able to wield different types of weapons or multiple weapons. Maybe she'll even actually be a new weapon type, a hammer weapon type. I don't know how they'd balance that moving forward with it only having 1 unit for the time being, but you never know what that could mean, so I'm hopeful. I think it's probably something pretty small, though. Then we get some details on Chapter 9. It's going to come out on July 15th, so probably while we're still playing this facility event. And it will feature Chell, the 3rd heir. We get a closer look at what she's holding in her hand now, and maybe it's related to augments, since we'll see a couple more details on augments below. And we also get confirmation that we're getting a new advanced dragon trial in late July. They're going to share more information on that soon, so presumably we'll know before it comes out whether it's High Jupiter's trial or whether it's High Zodiarc's trial, so that we have a little bit of time at the least to prepare accordingly. The next bullet point is new augments and astral raids. This was another thing that images of were leaked early or data mined early. The upgrade feature augments is something we knew about before, but it's going to become available when we clear Chapter 9. You'll be able to upgrade adventurers, weapons, dragons, and wormprints even further by using items specific to each. Each one can have its HP and strength raised up to plus 50 on the upgrade screen. A new game mode, Astral Raids, will start 1 a.m. July 20th, 2019. Tackle quests Monday through Friday to earn astral pieces, which can be used to fight bosses in astral raids on Saturday and Sunday. So we'll be able to start getting those astral pieces from the Flames of Reflection facility event. And my expectation is this is going to be kind of how story events or the Fae event worked in the past, where maybe during weekdays for any type of content we're doing, we get a few astral pieces along the way, and then on the weekends we can spin those to actually do these special raids. Now I think this is a really awesome system. It's a good way of encouraging co-op. The rewards sound good. It looks like this will be the primary means through which you acquire stat boosting augments, and it gets some of these older raid bosses in circulation again, so we get to enjoy the unique mechanics they have to offer. It says the bosses will change every week and sometimes even include bosses you fought in past raid battles, which already suggests that, there could be other types of bosses we've never fought. However, it's not available when there's other raid events happening, which makes sense. From a co-op perspective, you want to make sure there's a decent pool of players in any given type of content so matchmaking is smooth. The number of times you can attempt astral raids is limited. However, you'll be able to earn a variety of rewards you can use for upgrading. Our hope is that this will encourage players to complete quests on the weekdays, then spend the weekends playing co-op with each other to upgrade their adventurers. The fact that they say the number of times is limited, I think what they're saying there is just it depends on how many astral pieces you collect during the week. So you can only play the raids for each astral piece that you have. It's probably going to be like Otherworld Fragments work right now, but just you can't collect them during the weekend. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good system. I do think you want the co-op stuff on the weekends more because that's when people have time. Solo play is easier to do during the week when you can auto battle or 2 times speed it, skip ticket it. It says in the expert and master difficulties, you'll be able to get items for upgrading via augments. And at first, you'll only get items for upgrading via adventurer and wormprint augments, but later they'll add dragons and weapons. Incidentally, dragons and weapons are the stronger of the types of augments because you get that elemental attunement bonus. So if these are raw stats or base stats, you're actually getting more from the dragons and from the weapons. That being said, since these are raw stats, on an adventure it also matters a lot because it's before you're applying modifiers like the aura from your dragon that boosts your strength, before you're applying the Halidom boost that you're getting. So these are a really big increase in power, and for that reason I still don't know how available these are actually going to be. It could be that it's a slow grind to get them through astral raids. That's kind of what I'm thinking after reading this. Then the next bullet point is, for sure the most polarizing for me, regarding future features. We're currently developing an alliances feature which will allow you to create co-op rooms and chat with members of your alliance. So, red flags sounding for me about possible guild wars. This type of thing kind of scares me because I'm very comfortable with just not talking to people in the game I'm playing. I just like to use stickers, get on with my life and with my game. Even though I tend to talk a lot on our Discord and talk strategy often, I just don't know that I want this in my Dragalia Lost app. It feels kind of superfluous to me, it feels kind of extra, and sometimes just having these layers of communication on top of something that is already fine, I'm just not that crazy about. Then there's all these other issues about alliance size, how many members can you invite, what are the costs of creating an alliance? What are the consequences of it? And honestly, I'm a little bit scared by this. This is one of the things that could put me off from Dragalia Lost permanently if this is not executed well, just to be very clear about it. That being said, I want to give this a chance because I do chat on our Discord a lot. I do like talking to all of you and communicating with all of you and coordinating for co-op. And I've gotten to use Discord as a luxury that's smoothed my matchmaking considerably compared to others who are in pubs trying to coordinate for these harder fights. So I want to be hopeful for this. It does help my hope that the screenshot is so cute, with Lily being called Dragon Prep Forever and Sanoa being Juggernaut. So, they're being cute about it, they're being coy, whoever localized this. I'm hopeful, I'm optimistic, but this does kind of scare me. I don't want this to go the complete PvP route where it's all about being in the strongest alliance and having to win a battle the most number of times so that you get the most rewards for your alliance and sharing resources across your alliance members or something like that. I hope this is really streamlined and really simple. It lets you chat, unlimited amount of people in an alliance. I would love to make one for the entire channel and the entire community if that's possible, but I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of restrictions on this, and that type of thing worries me. It does say some of the reason they're doing this, though, with the increasing complexity of Dragalia Lost, there are many conditions that factor into creating a co-op room. We hope to address the need for more detailed co-op room creation by allowing players to use the Alliance feature to discuss strategy via chat and recruit for co-op within their alliances. This will make it easier to help new players prepare for battle and to go into battle with a group strategy. We'll provide more details on when you could expect this in the future. So I guess we'll have to see how it actually pans out. I'm cautiously optimistic. I want to be positive on this, but yeah, this is the one I am most hesitant about for sure. Finally, we get some, in conclusion, text about new types of content and the overall purpose of it. Mercurial Gauntlet can be tackled at any time. Astral Raids gives players a means of going all out for co-op in the weekends, and Alliances lets you create co-op groups and talk strategy. They're planning even more new elements and content. Whoa. Okay, I didn't notice this before. We are planning even more new elements and content? So keep an eye out for future updates? Okay, are they talking about elements like shadow, light, flame, water, wind? Because that is a pretty big bombshell if they're just dropping, hey, multiple new elements are going to be added. I think they're just using elements as a generic word here and talking about we're adding gameplay elements. Because otherwise that is pretty shocking, so yeah, I'm just gonna read that in the simplest way possible, but that really caught me off guard. Anyway, the final thing is this gift that we got. 500 Wormite, 100 gold crystals, 100 gold whetstones, sure. But then, of course, the 200 consecrated water. So Okada-san, the director, knows exactly how to win their way in with us with that 200 consecrated water. I already used a lot of mine to finally invest in and level up Resounding Rendition. One of the other things I was doing this week was just some math on how good that is, and I definitely came to the realization that it's a lot better than I gave it credit for, and it's actually a lot better than 40% skill damage Wormprint in many cases. So yeah, I finally bit the bullet. I never summoned Resounding Rendition, so I bought all 5 copies and dumped a lot of consecrated water to get it to a high level. But I am going to save some of that just in case that High Dragon that comes out, just in case we actually need the High Dragon Wormprint for that, unlike with High Mercury's Trial, where it was kind of a waste to actually spend consecrated water to level that print up. Anyway, though, that's pretty much it as far as this What's Ahead Part 5 goes. I'm most looking forward to the facility event, to the new story chapter. Astral Raids, actually, the more I talk about it, sounds pretty cool. It honestly works pretty well with my life because I do have more time on the weekends. So I hope it's actually fun, and I am cautiously, once again, very cautiously optimistic about the Alliance's future. Let me know what you thought about What's Ahead for Dragalia Lost Part 5, and tell me how your week went in Dragalia Lost. That's going to do it for this episode of Dragalia Weekly. I hope you enjoyed watching this longer form, more casual video, and expect more videos like this in the weeks to come. Thank you once again for watching. Take care, as always, everyone. Have yourself a great week, and I'll see you next time.